In just a few short weeks before we hopefully adjourn for this year, the Senate has this to accomplish: omnibus funding bill, prevent a government shutdown, and progress is being made, but there's no guarantee that these vexatious poison pill writers won't close the government. We need to do a highway bill, conference report. That's been filed now. Senator Boxer gave a report to us. Hopefully that will move along quickly. Education bill, conference report. An extension of all these expiring tax provisions, including those for the middle class. We have a huge backlog of nominations dealing with national security and other things. Each of these matters is essential. But instead of moving to the deadlines we face, Republicans are demanding yet another futile vote on defunding Obamacare and defunding Planned Parenthood. Total waste of time here in the Senate. Everybody knows these two things are going nowhere. And despite the terrible, violent attack at a Planned Parenthood health clinic just a few days ago, Republicans continue with their hateful rhetoric and have scheduled yet another vote on a bill that includes a provision to defund health care for women. Since the passage of the Affordable Care Act 5 years ago, 17 million Americans now have health care. It's been particularly effective in Kentucky. According to the Washington Post, quote, no other state has had a large 1-year decrease in uninsured residents than Kentucky. In a state of 4.4 million people, 500,000 people in Kentucky gained coverage because of Connect, they call it, K-Y-N-E-C-T. So it's hard to comprehend why they are obsessed with this Obamacare. I assume because it clearly is Obama's signature program. But in face of all the good news that Obamacare is bringing almost on a daily basis, Republicans are forcing yet another show vote on repeal. This will be the 16th in the Senate, and honestly, I have lost track of how many in the House. Everyone knows this bill can't become law. What they're doing on this reconciliation is just going nowhere. Republicans are reportedly telling each other that the president would veto the bill anyway, meaning Republicans could vote on a measure they already know won't go anyplace. But they want to do this to satisfy a few radical right-wing people who they have joined forces with. Another charade may make some Republican senators feel better, but it won't make law. We don't need to waste another week with votes to defund Planned Parenthood or to take away access to affordable health care. We need to stop the show votes and work on the important matters that we face for our country. Senator Schumer's not here today, so this should go very quick. Senator Durbin?
The pressure's on. Last month, Democrats and Republicans came together to pass a budget that avoided the disastrous effects of sequestration and the potential of a government shutdown. Now, with that bipartisan framework in place, you would think that we'd want to close on an upbeat, positive note. We've got to pass a lot of bipartisan legislation, as Senator Reid has noted. First and foremost, fund the government, no shutdown. Second, transportation bill, a bipartisan bill. I just signed a conference report. Certainly we ought to be considering that. Third, we have to consider, of course, tax extenders, critically important for a lot of low-income and middle-income families all across America. In addition to that, we have important legislation to consider, and we have to do it and do it in a timely way. We have a backlog of nominations on this calendar. Thank goodness we finally approved the administrator for USAID last night after she sat there for months waiting to be called on the Senate floor. So what is the Senate going to do instead of taking up these important measures in the closing 10 days? We are going to join the House in another vain effort to defund Obamacare. 16 times called and failed in the Senate, 57 times called and failed in the House, And Senator McConnell can't wait to call it again so he can have another swipe at these poor people across America who think they need health insurance. Even in the state of Kentucky, people need health insurance. But Senator McConnell is opposed to it, as he's opposed to this president, and he wants to get another symbolic token vote. And of course, what they're doing to Planned Parenthood is inexplicable. Women across America need access to quality health care, and yet the Republicans, time and time again, can't wait to pile on, despite the recent tragedy that affected this agency in Colorado. So it's time for us to really call them for what this is. This is a delayed tactic, a political tactic, another revote by, unfortunately, a majority leader who's made a tradition of these revotes this year.
Senator Murray.
Well, as you heard, there's an awful lot of real work that we should be focused on this week, whether it's coming together to fix our roads and bridges, or make sure our government stays open, or renew important expiring tax provisions, especially those that help the middle class. Workers and families are rightfully expecting us to get results on these and other issues. But instead of working across the aisle for the families and communities we represent, Republican leaders have chosen this week to double down on partisan political pandering. And they're sending a very clear message to people across the country that Republicans would rather try to dismantle the Affordable Care Act for the umpteenth time than make sure that middle-class families' tax credits are protected. And they would rather try once again to defund Planned Parenthood centers and take away critical care for women and men than join Democrats to avoid another last-minute scramble to finish our work. The families I talked to in Washington State and across the country have had enough of Tea Party political pandering taking a front seat to actual legislating. And we are proud to stand with them and say enough is enough. Republican leaders should drop the politics, stop trying to undermine health care for women and families across the country, and work with us to deliver results on the issues families and communities care about.
We talked about some of these vexatious poison pills in this bill. I just came over from the House side, and the top Democrat on the Appropriations Committee there, Nita Lowey, said she wasn't worried. She said this was now up at the leadership. You must be seeing something at the leadership level that worries you that doesn't worry people down the road.
We started with more than about 250 writers. It's a new buzzword for earmarks. And now we're down, as I understand it, although I haven't seen them, to about 100. I was told yesterday by my counterpart that he and the Speaker were going to send to us their batch of writers they felt were important. So we haven't gotten those yet. When we get those, we'll start working through them.
Would you agree, would something that deals with the Syrian refugees, like what passed the House, if that were included in the omnibus, would that be one of those poison pills?
Syrian refugees. Since the war started, we've had 1,800 of them come. Less than 2% are men of working age, military age, I should say. The rest are children, women, and old men. The vetting of those 1,800 people took an average of 18 to 24 months. There's not a single one of them that's been connected in any way with terrorism. It seems so hard for me to comprehend that they're more concerned about these handful of Syrian refugees than they are about things that are important, like guns in the hands of people who are on the terrorist watch list, guns that are capable of being purchased by people who have crazy, I don't know if that's the right term, but a lot of problems mentally, are criminals. They're more concerned about this handful of Syrian refugees than they are the more than 30,000 Americans who are killed by guns every year. During the time we're having this little press event here, a number of people be killed with guns. And we as Democrats understand that there's things can be done to help with the visa waiver program. And we had a very good discussion in my caucus today in some detail of things that can be done to improve that. And we're going to do that. There's bipartisan legislation that Senator Feinstein is leading. I'm having a meeting this afternoon late with all my rankers, so we call them people who lead the committees of jurisdiction. They're going to come up with some legislation. Senator Cardin has been working hard on this as chairman, as our ranking member on the Foreign Relations Committee. So, yes, we have a lot to do and a lot of things to worry about, but refugees is not one of our top priorities right now. Yes.
Do you have any estimate as to the number of amendments Democrats hope to offer on the reconciliation package? And do you
We're going to have a
expect to get
small
started
number.
today?
We haven't decided an exact number. Senator Murray's worked very hard on this, along with Senator Schumer, Senator Durbin, and others, but we're going to have a very small number. But they're going to be good amendments.
The House Speaker talked about mental health legislation to address the gun violence issue. Would you be willing to work with Republicans on that?
Of course I'm happy to work on anything dealing with mental health. I've been working on that going back to the Wellstone days, where we tried to do something with mental health and mental health parity. But it seems to me any time, and that's often now, that we have one of these horrible murderers take place, the Republicans go, let's do something about mental health. Of course we should do something mental health, but it has nothing to do, or so I should say, only remotely connected with the vast majority of people that are killed in this country with guns. The mental health provision, during their entire legislation, unless something's changed, the word gun is not mentioned because they're afraid to mention guns. Where are you? Yeah, there you are.
You gave
Yeah.
a relatively upbeat assessment on the omnibus.
I'm sorry, what?
I said, by your standards, you gave a relatively upbeat assessment on the omnibus. How would you?
Seriously, I feel good about the omnibus. I think we've made progress every day, and I think that unless they are demanding a lot more poison pill raiders than we can possibly accept, they'll close the government, as Senator Durbin said.
Well, how do you think things are looking on this tax extenders package, and would you be willing to consider or accept a delay of the Cadillac tax or something on medical devices?
The number one issue we have on the tax extenders at this stage, we've been working on them now for a long time, is we want some type of middle class parity. And one of the things we want is to make sure that on the child tax credit, it's indexed. And until we get over that hump, we're not going to look at anything else. They're willing to give us indexing, and we're happy. We'll take a look at their international tax provisions. We'll take a look at some of the other things they want, including the Cadillac tax that Senator Heller sponsored here. We'll take a look at a lot of stuff. But until they give us the indexing of the child tax credit, and I think you can talk to Nancy Pelosi, because I think she and I are in agreement. I don't think. We've talked about this lots of time. We need something on that before we move to the other stuff.
Senator, on this Zadroga Act, there was some talk that that bill would be included within the highway bill.
It was all, okay, let's talk about that. The 9/11 bill for New York, it was done. It's been done for weeks. It was supposed to be in the highway bill. Quite frankly, I was surprised yesterday when I was told by Senator McConnell that it wasn't going to be on the highway bill. I was really quite surprised because Senator Schumer and Gillibrand have worked very hard on that. They had gotten sign-offs for virtually everybody, and it's not in the bill, and I'm disappointed. It's something that these people deserve, and I was told, well, we're going to do it on the omnibus, and now I was told later in the day that they want to do it on the tax extender. So I don't know what their 9/11 idea of the day is, I should say the hour. It's something that had been worked out by Boxer and everybody involved, including, as I understand it, Speaker Ryan had signed off on it, but it's not in the highway bill.